Because Sunny Hostin especially does not want to accept that Democrats lost due to the fact that they have abandoned the working class.
So you make the decision. If you're looking for that, then, it's quite possible you could get it if you go. But if you're not looking for that, chances are you might want to just say, it's been nice seeing you this evening.
The View show takes a new direction. After a series of lawsuits, Whoopi Goldberg called out Sunny Hostin over her mode of talking to guests during live shows.
Is a real thing, though.
Yeah, of course.
And that's something else.
But Sunny, nobody's talking about date rape. This is not a case of date rape.
I'm not talking about date rape. I'm just asking questions.
I just want to make it clear that that's not what we're talking about.
I got married 2 months ago. I dated a lot. I haven't been married 20 years like you. And I'm just saying that this is confusing for me.
But it is interesting to see how conflict has increased on that show following the outcome of the election, because Sunny Hostin especially does not want to accept that Democrats lost due to the fact that they have abandoned the working class. She's like totally in la la land about it, and so is Whoopi Goldberg, but Sunny Hostin's on another level, okay? But anyway, putting that aside, I'm gonna just give you a little more information because I want to juxtapose the kind of life Whoopi Goldberg lives and what average Americans are struggling with right now.
I think that there's such a desire. If you really think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny, you're missing it. Most of my family, a lot of my family doesn't have college degrees.
But the stats are the stats.
But that's not, it doesn't say I voted for Donald Trump because of racism. That's not, let me hear that. What stat are you talking about?
Let me just dissect the two.
Yes, you can. There's a lot
Hold on. Calm down, everybody. Just take a breath. Take a breath. Well, take a beat.
She has taken the lead to put every cast in order to keep The View from facing no lawsuit. How has she handled the whole change? Would others follow her lead? There's only one way to know. Let's get into the video. Near the end of a multi-part interview with sports broadcaster Stephen A. Smith, the legal expert turned the conversation towards Smith's potential political ambitions. Hostin stated that Smith has been asked about running for political office in the future, and some people have said that they could see him running for president. She asked him, would you do that? Do you think you're qualified to run for president? I mean, the bar is pretty low anyway. Though it was unclear who, one of Hostin's co-hosts, could be heard gasping at the inquiry, just before Goldberg paused the discussion to request a correction. Whoopi Goldberg calls out Sunny Hostin's interview question to the View guest.
But you know what? That doesn't mean that we should not continue to educate ourselves to how our pocketbooks got to it. And that's the problem. That's what you were talking about. That fringe thing, if you don't know why your stuff is going, do your homework. But you know what? That takes time, and it requires you to commit to do that work to figure it out. And they're not going to do it.
Most people are not going to do that.
Goldberg asked Hostin to rephrase her words. The 56-year-old legal expert reiterated that she thinks that the bar is low because Donald Trump had no political experience and went from 0 to 100. From that experience, it meant anyone could run. Whoopi Goldberg stepped in for a slight course correction after taking issue with the way The View co-host Sunny Hostin asked a particular interview question on the live show. Smith responded, stressing that on many occasions he has said hell no to a potential presidential run. He added that at the moment he's living a pretty good life, but I wished he could debate some of these guys. Deep down, he would love to be on the debate stage going up against these guys with the presidency on the line.
Absolutely. For that, yes, because others have. Okay, including Democrats, by the way. Yeah. I mean, they broke the line. What's wrong with me doing it? But I would be an independent because I don't like either side, and I'm not going to be bought and paid for. I'm going to do what I believe is in the best interest of the American people, whatever that may be, and I'm going to make my decisions and I'm going to stand on it.
And that's what most people say when they run, and then they get in there, and it's like, hey, you can't make that decision without us. And it's like, well, where did you come from?
But that's because they're at the mercy of the pocketbooks on either side, because they know that it takes money to campaign, run the commercials. Look at what Trump did in terms of the commercials that he was running against Kamala Harris. He spent millions upon millions of dollars, you know, doing what he did. And you need the money in order to be known. But if I didn't need it, please, it was just us going on a debate stage and let's talk about the issues that affect America. Name the time and place.
So listen, what's one of the biggest things you want to see taken out of politics?
Yes. Lobbyists.
Money.
Why? Do tell.
Because the politicians are bought and paid for.
They are.
On both sides.
Goldberg then jokes, don't say that, because we will arrange that. Smith finished his thought in a half-joking fashion, saying that if he was told that he had a legitimate shot to win the presidency, he'd consider it down the line. But there's more to come.
We talk a lot about these different demographics and these assumptions of where they're going to go. Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
It's on the border. The border crisis is on their doorstep. And they were begging people to care about it for years. We need to take some lessons.
That's what that was.
The lessons are not
Knock, knock. Who's there? Oh my gosh, it's Whoopi.
Hi, Whoopi, sorry.
The claws were out as Sunny Hostin clashed with Alyssa Farah. The moment came amid the particularly eventful episode of The View, which also saw Hostin and Alyssa Farah Griffin clash over election issues at the top of the show, while Joy Behar's cell phone once again interrupted the broadcast as the co-host spoke. It all started when Hostin slammed the Trump administration for inviting influencers and content creators to apply for credentials to attend White House press briefings. But why are they qualified to sit in the White House briefing room and tell America what is going on with the country when the culture says to become a White House correspondent or to be in that briefing room? You have to have a journalism degree, you have to have qualifications. So I guess the rise of mediocrity is here to stay.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
Right.
So why do you think that uneducated white women voted against their reproductive health freedoms? And why do you think Latino men voted in favor of someone that's going to deport, says he's going to deport the majority of his community?
White women like being called uneducated white women. I think the economy matters, national security matters. But when you put people in these boxes, I think that's a takeaway from this race.
However, Griffin argued that Americans are losing trust in mainstream media outlets, which, like podcasters and influencers on social media, can be wrong sometimes too. But the numbers justify the reason for the president's decision because there are a lot of Americans who do feel like the mainstream media got a lot wrong in recent years. The former White House staffer then pointed to the CIA's recent claim that COVID-19 very likely came from a lab leak, but the New York Times shut down coverage of that. They wouldn't publish an op-ed by a senator from Arkansas, Tom Cotton, saying that this was a credential theory they experienced during her time at DOD, the Department of Defense. But they openly discussed that it was a very real possibility, while Hostin muttered that it was low confidence by the CIA. Ignoring her, Griffin added that there is a fact that the media at times has gotten things wrong. But Hostin fired back. It also matters that the CIA said it was a low-confidence report, and that is why the New York Times, which has standards, didn't report on it, to which Griffin replied, withholding the information altogether and saying it's not considered theory was what the mistake was. Whoopi Goldberg, however, was more concerned with the standards that established media outlets have in place to correct themselves when they are wrong. But Hostin was still stuck on Griffin's reference point. The cast of the ABC daytime talk show got into a heated discussion when the conversation drifted into school voucher tax credits. The voucher system was public money that goes to either a parent or student to choose any school that meets their educational needs.
Four schools. Let me just finish this. So wealthy families are overwhelmingly the recipients of school voucher tax credits. I'm not making this up. This has been studied. In 2020, a 2020 study found that only about half of states with voucher programs require teachers to have a bachelor's degree, require teachers to have training, require teachers to have licensing, require participating in private schools.
If I may get in, just to make it a conversation.
But because I have children and because I looked at the private schools.
I went to public school. I believe you got to go to private schools.
There is zero statistical significance.
Because nobody can figure out what's being said here right now. No, there is no last thing right now.
The goal of the voucher tax credits was to eliminate tuition barriers to private schools by donating to nonprofits, known as scholarship granting organizations. The money is then pooled and given out to eligible student applicants in the form of scholarships. During the episode, The View star Sunny Hostin claimed that vouchers tend to only benefit wealthier families who have children already enrolled in private schools. What happens with vouchers? The studies show very clearly that they fund students who are already attending private schools. So, people with money get those vouchers, use those vouchers to pay less for their private schools, and their kids go on to do well. Hostin added, "Where do you get the money for those vouchers? You pull the money from those poor schools?" Alyssa Farah Griffin, who served as President-elect Donald Trump's Director of Strategic Communications during his first term, attempted to interject and provide her comment, but Hostin didn't let her. While Hostin said she wanted to discuss her experience being a mother and providing education for her children, Farah Griffin chimed in, "Well, I went to public school. I believe you got to go to private school." Farah Griffin once again tried to ask for a convo, but the Sister Act star reiterated that she didn't think a conversation was possible.
I think that there's such a desire. If you really think the vast majority of this country voted because of racism and misogyny, you're missing it. Most of my family, a lot of my family doesn't have college degrees.
But the stats are the stats.
But that's not, it doesn't say I voted for Donald Trump because of racism. That's not what stat. What stat are you talking about?
You can't dissect the two.
Yes, you can. There's a lot
hold on. Calm down. Everybody just take a breath. Take a breath. Well, take a beat.
The co-hosts continued to talk over each other before Goldberg decided to step in. "Nobody can figure out what's being said here," the Oscar winner said, as Hostin tried to ask if she could make one more comment. Goldberg slammed Hostin, "No, there is no last thing right now. We're going to go on break."
Than Donald Trump on the other side. Do we just throw it back and start from scratch? I don't know if the political voices.
I think that's what people would like you to think. I think a lot of the problem, a lot of the messaging comes out of the news folks. You don't hear stuff that's going on. You hear, oh, this is dire straits. The election is next year? What year is this?
It's 2023.
Okay, thank you. I just like to check, but sometimes I'm in a different time zone.
I have a legal note.
Can I?
Nobody at ABC that was conducting the poll was high.
After the commercial break, Goldberg addressed the argument, pointing out that the View's co-hosts have different opinions, which can occasionally get out of hand. She added that sometimes it's messy, sometimes we're messy. There's something in the air. Just know that something is chewing on us. To make up for shutting Hostin down during the live episode, Whoopi Goldberg exchanged gifts with Sunny Hostin live on another episode of the show. Goldberg got a little help from Haynes, as she comically slid a package back toward Hostin at the Hot Topics table. Christmas is over, but it's still the season of giving back, that is, at the View's Hot Topics table. The episode was after the View came back from a short break. Moderator Whoopi Goldberg welcomed her co-hosts back to the show following a multi-day hiatus for the holidays, as the ladies gathered once again for the first live telecast of the year. Upon asking what the panelists did over the break, Sunny Hostin revealed that she was in Puerto Rico spending time with family and friends, and also brought back some souvenirs for her colleagues from the famous Chocobar Cortez company. Hostin slid different colored packages of hot chocolate across the Hot Topics table toward all of the individual hosts.
I'm trying to figure out the correct word because I don't want anybody up my behind about this. Can I come ask you if this is an okay word to say?
I'm going to say no, it's not. I'm just going to guess. Yeah.
Clearly, Brian knows the tape.
That's okay.
I was citing the authority on this, but go ahead.
Well,
I'm the lawyer.
Well, because I'm never sure anymore of what word is okay and what isn't. But the gerrymandering that's gone on in this country,
Am I right,
every
Brian?
state.
After that, Hostin gets up from her seat and hugs Whoopi Goldberg after she calls him ridiculous during a clash on The View. Sarah Haynes studied the yellow packaging, which appeared to be the sweet chocolate flavor, ahead of reaching for a brown pack, seemingly the hot chocolate with cinnamon flavor that sat in front of Hostin. She then showed it to Goldberg, who smiled before sliding the yellow package back at Hostin while the studio audience laughed. While undeniably sweet, Hostin's gifts paled in spice when compared to the trinkets Joy Behar brought back for her pals after her iconic Italian vacation in April 2023. Amid calling a woman a bitch for refusing to allow her to use a first-class bathroom aboard a passenger train, Behar bought her colleagues tiny Italian statues of naked men and gifted them live on air. While the clash was over, both Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin responded to former President Trump's remarks, calling Goldberg's comedy filthy and dirty, and branding The View's panelists as dumb.
We walked out to Dirty by Christina Aguilera because it's one of the words that you-know-who used when he was talking about me in particular, but he was talking about us at his rallies. And he spent 2 separate rallies ranting about Tuesday's interview with Vice President Kamala Harris. Take a look.
If anything, would you have done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years?
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
I think the other one asking the question is dumber than Kamala, so she's a dummy. I watched her over the years. That is one dumb woman.
I watched that stupid View where you have these really dumb people. You know, Whoopi Goldberg said, would you participate in a movie? She made some movie on basketball. This was before I ran for politics. She said, oh, you're so great. If you ever ran for president, you'd win. Politics can do strange things to demented people.
Goldberg defended her past performances and criticized Trump, highlighting his controversial statements and hiring decisions. She humorously questioned Trump's judgment, emphasizing he had hired her multiple times despite his criticisms. The View hosts Whoopi Goldberg and Sunny Hostin hit back at President Trump's remarks.
His lying is monumental, as we all know. And even people who are Trump supporters, watch this. Just watch this. This is good.
I have a hard time doing it to them because I'm basically a truthful person. But and frankly, basically, and I am a natural redhead who's 29 years old. Okay, I mean the jokes just come so easily.
When you listen to him as a whole, I think again what Vice President Harris is getting is this groundswell of positivity, of hope, of kind of looking forward. It's such a contrast to the way Donald Trump continues to speak. The New York Times said it best. They said, the former president's speeches have grown darker, harsher, longer, angrier, less focused, more profane, and increasingly fixated on the past. They went through and had a percentage, like this assessment of all the things he's doing. One of them is he's using 13% more all or nothing terms, which is actually a sign of advancing age. 69% more swear words, so maybe he likes a little dirty.
Yeah.
But he goes on
how
and—
dirty I wasn't? What? I never grabbed anybody by their genitalia.
Well, and then that part. But I think there was a bunch of coverage of the crowd sizes, which I think is why he was so angry when he was talking. There were actually reporters taking pictures of this is when he took the stage.
Sad.
So he was already triggered as that happens.
As the moderator, Goldberg started by showing 2 clips from Trump's speech to provide context for the discussion. The clips in question had footage of Trump discussing one of the View's interviews with former Vice President Kamala Harris. But rather than pointing out Harris's actions, Trump went on to attack the show's panelists, labeling them as really dumb people.
The episode of you when you're on The View, and I think it was 2015, you got introduced as our friend Donald Trump.
That's right.
Whoopi Goldberg gives you a big hug and a kiss. Joy Behar gives you a big hug. Barbara Walters gives you a big hug. They all loved you. They were talking about you in such a favorable light. The audience was cheering.
Donald Trump is a billionaire, a real estate mogul, and a television star. But does he really want to add president of the United States to his resume? A lot of people would like him to. Please let's find out, and please welcome my friend, Donald Trump. We're so happy to have you. Whenever you're on with us, we're very happy.
Well, we love it.
Trump specifically mentioned Goldberg by her name, recalling a cameo he made in her 1996 film, Eddie. He said she once told him that he was so great, and if he ever ran for president, he'd win. But politics had affected her judgment, because there's no limit to what politics to demented people. Trump continued by stating he had previously hired Goldberg for her comedy, but was turned off by her performance, saying he was not particularly shy about what he heard. But Goldberg's mouth was so foul. She was so filthy, dirty, disgusting. Half the place left that he said he would never hire her again. Goldberg quickly responded that she was filthy and stood by that. But she pointed out that Trump knew what to expect when he hired her as a headliner at his casino, joking she might have kept playing there if he hadn't run it into the ground. She also referenced Trump's infamous 2005 Access Hollywood that surfaced during the 2016 election. You know how dirty I wasn't? But I never grabbed anybody by their genitalia. Because there's a difference between people who assault other people and people who say words that you don't want little kids saying in the middle of church. Finally, she challenged his claim that he would never hire her again, stating that Trump hired her 4 times and didn't know what he was getting. She ended her words by saying the president was dumb. As the Views cast reconciled after the arguments and jointly fired back at Trump, we look forward to the next episode. If you liked today's video, be sure to check out some of our other videos currently on the screen.